Modern History Assessment. Soldier's Perspective on the American Civil War. Introduction. A soldier's perspective of war changed depending on the role and position during the Civil War. For example, a Union infantry soldier would have had a very different experience compared to a Confederate soldier during the same battle. Another example, one soldier may have experienced a more traumatic experience of combat, whilst the other may have had a lesser amount of traumatization from the event. These experiences can also change due to the equipment, morality, food, general orders, propaganda, and superior officers or NCOs. They can all affect one's perspective of the event and alter their memory. For example, a non-combat experienced 22-year-old Union first-class private of the 13th Infantry would have had a different experience compared to that of a 30-year-old Union first-class private 13th Infantry with combat experience when they both go into combat. Source 1. John W. Taylor letter. The letter that Private John W. Taylor from the 15th Maine Infantry Regiment sent to his parents 5 days after the Battle of Shiloh, which occurred on the 7th of April, and he sent it on the 12th of April. He talks about how exhausted he was and still is before, during, and after the battle. He describes in the letter he wrote home becoming worn down and having to take a break from the ongoing battle around him underneath a tree, and then later rejoining up with a completely different regiment of Union forces, the 8th. The 8th force that John W. Taylor rejoins then regroups with his original unit, the 10th, and push forward. The letter also describes the weather conditions. Quoted, "There we stayed all night in the rain." This quote shows what the forces fought in, slept in, ate in, and used up their fatigue time in during the Battle of Shiloh. This provides an insightful view into what the soldiers would have been feeling during, before, and after the battle. The weariness of the battle and deprivation of sleep wore out the men at a much more quicker pace, thus making them a lot less combat efficient. Source 1 of Confederate, the Confederate Kepi. The Confederate source for this assignment, the Kepi hat, provides an interesting insight into the life of a Confederate soldier. The Kepi could provide a useful first-hand source which would show the audience what kind of headwear privates would have worn during the conflict. The source also provides an insight into what the coloring of the Confederate States of America uniform would have looked like. This source also depicts what the quality of clothing the Confederates would have worn and been using throughout the conflict. Source 2. Union. Photo of African American Union Regiment. This photo could play a major role in helping a historian understand a soldier's perspective about the Civil War. In this source, it depicts 8 colored Union soldiers within the image, majority of which are privates, whilst one is at the rank of private first class. This photo would have been taken on or after 1863, as African Americans were not permitted to fight officially in either of the armies till 1863, when Abraham Lincoln allowed volunteers to fight. Many African Americans originally did not want to fight for the United States of America or the United States of America due to the reason of being treated unfairly by the CSA if they became prisoners of war. Lincoln acted upon this and put into play an act stating that every black soldier found being mistreated will lead to the death of a Confederate soldier. This was huge and shocking to the Confederate States of America, so it did not occur often. There was still segregation within the Union armed forces as well. They had colored regiments and white regiments. These colored regiments were also known as USCT, or United States Colored Troops. Their colored regiments would have a C next to the regimental number. For example, the 79th Infantry of Northern Carolina, C. Source 2. Confederate. Photo of three Confederates sitting together. This source of three Confederates can be an important source to historians because of the fact it depicts what men would have worn during the American Civil War. The rank of a soldier, which depicts an enlisted private of the Confederate States of America. This source also depicts the uniforms of men in the image and what it would have been common sight on the battlefield. The photo also depicts the weaponry used by Confederate infantry forces during the Civil War, which would have been smooth-bore muskets, which were a lot less accurate and less technologically advanced than the United States Armed Forces. Due to this, it was quite common for the CSA soldier to switch out their equipment or weaponry with that of a United States dead or POW soldier. The CSA were known for their out-of-date weaponry and tactics used upon the battlefield by many generals, but not all, used Napoleon-style tactics, which were proven to be outdated by the time of conflict, and technology used by the Union forces. Thank you for watching. Bibliography is included in the script.